A lot of brass work clean on that. The Cheshire rollers didn't look as good as this in their working day. The rollers were some of the last working steam in the United Kingdom. I can remember in the 60s up in Westerland, the Westerland Council still had a steamroller. That steamroller is actually still in existence. And what tended to happen was that when the roller driver retired, then they retired the roller and bought diesel roller. Very dramatic life for the roller driver, and then go back to work on the Sunday night. So this one was new mill, Urban District Council, it still lives very, very close to where it was actually used for a living. So I say, let's fill it up on there, and how's the bread going, Billy? I can't hear it, because we'll talk about the bread in a minute. So the next one is that's 100 pounds. We have to leave now for the front tower. This is a showman test. So showmen were very good at cleaning up their engines, taking the name of showman. But John Murphy didn't do that. 3 or 4 trailers, without a doubt, that each of those were going to have a brakeman on. And they were all connected to the driving compartment with a bigger road on the dock. And it's really lovely to see a young man up there on the steering. Very interesting history that was restored by the Howard brothers, and a few years ago the shed it was in caught fire. And the fire was so intense that the engine actually got into speed. That's how hot the fire was. People stopped calling it repulse, and again it's exactly the same thing. But repulse still does exist, and I've seen the pair of them together at Masson, I think it was Masson Rally. Another roller coming into the arena. What we call a chain and bobbing system. So it's probably 20 turns on the steering wheel to get the roller to go from one lap to another. So quite hard work. Beautifully turned out again. It's casted into the larger cylinder, the blow pressure sensor. It's a more efficient way of using the steam. And as many people have done in this day and age, we've got rubber on the road rather than steam, and that's just to make it a little bit, because on the road they are noisy, horrible things, I have to say. So I don't know whether we're going to get any more.
So earlier on today, I got some flour ingredients, mixed it as you would make bread, as I'd have made bread at home. It was new to me. And we proved it on the steam engine, just in a casserole pot. And then after about an hour and a half of proving it, in the heat of course it helped. And then we put it in the snow box at the front of the engine for about an hour and 20 minutes. And we've now got bread.
Have you tried it? I've got a roast in there, wouldn't they? People think we're joking, but people do that, don't they?
Absolutely, we've done joints of gammon, we've done brisket of beef, it's great, and it's almost free cooking, and everybody that likes it, if you're not in the caravan cooking, the steam engine does it for you, it's brilliant.
Well done, Julie, I might come over and try a bit of bread a bit later. Perfect, thank you, Julie. So, what else have we got? We've got another showman's engine coming in. Can you imagine what that would be like if you were in a small town at the turn of the century, where people have never seen electric lights, and the showman turns up to the annual fair and lights the place up. You know, the ride's got electricity on it, it's got electric bulbs on it, the engine's got electric bulbs on it. It must have been absolutely incredible. Again, on the back of there you can see we've got the crane for helping build up the ride, the rubber tyres, and they are a handful on the road. I've been lucky enough to drive Dragon, which is a big barrel. on the road and you can't see anything because if you look at the steer person up there, right in front of them you've got that big flywheel ending, and this is built in Texas. This is built by Charlie Burrow, and as I say, if you see it, look on the back, you can see we've got the pillars for building up the ride. Beautifully turned out. This is the podium, so the podium concern started at this rear here. What have you got on the front of that? You see, typical Cheshire driver, I'm sorry, horsepower engine. Now, nominal horsepower is the way that engines were measured. And basically, it tells a new owner what work it could do. Now, it's not brake horsepower, it's not horsepower, it's nominal horsepower, and it's worked out by the size of the cylinder. So this is a 6 horsepower engine, so it would do the work back tomorrow. And this would be the heavy haulage or the haulage vehicle of the day. So it would be used for heavy haulage, would be used for ordinary haulage, would be used for timber haulage, road locomotive because it's got a belly tank under the boiler, so you've got a little bit of extended range, and it's got the solid flywheel. Now the solid flywheel is the horses spoke of. Velvet metal tractor, young lady driving that, well done young lady. Give them a round of applause then, ladies and gents. Young lady up there, managing that beautifully. Pulled the gold medal tractor because at a local show, all were awarded the gold medal for this tractor. So it's a similar road locomotive but a little bit small. And you might think that this is a little bit oversteered. Well, I can tell you that it's not. This is how it works. It's a power road locomotive, so again a heavy haulage locomotive, quite well documented. The view to Charles Open Shore in Reading, and absolutely stunning. And if you look at up in the canopy of that, that is how it was turned out when it was new. So people that are a bit over the store, rest assured it was right up in its working life, and there are pictures to show that. But that's absolutely beautifully turned out. Another engine, this time, I think 1930 I was told earlier on. So soon went on quite late. Lose its attraction. The next one of those, that came to Thetford in Norfolk. Charlie Burrow didn't make many railways, but made a few of them. And this one was used at our Dingle and Son, which were based down in Cornwall. Very famous contractor, rolling contractor, ploughing contractor, thrashing contractor. So very famous bird. And this one you notice hasn't got any cab on it at all. It's used to a bird in Essex and is a general purpose agricultural engine. So it would be used for timber haulage, would be used for thrashing, sawing and that type of thing. Now underneath it, you'll see hanging on a rod between the front axle and the firebox is the spuds. Now the spuds are a method of gaining traction. So originally it's credited with revolutionising farming by the cable ploughing. Traction engines generally are too heavy to go on the land to plough. There were several did it, but they were not very successful. So John Power's idea was to use 2 of these engines, one at each side of the pinion, one on each headland, and using the big rounding pin underneath. This wheel was a plough or a cultivator to treat them. These came in with a whistle because that was the way of communicating. So if you can imagine, everyone would reply, then engage the wind, and would call the incident to treatment. It was not unknown for the crew because these ploughs and cultivators were sealed to hit an obstruction in the in the field and through the course. So the implement will get to the other end of the field, and of course it has been ploughing in the past. Moving on to the 1930s now, Sentinel. Sentinel started in Glasgow as alley at the town, moved down to Shrewsbury, Shropshire. The sign on the front is ever up to and on the alert, and this is an S6. So this is the last iteration really of steam wagons in this country. The engine's underneath, so it's the undercarriage, the boiler's in the cab, double drive six-wheeler, and these are remarkably quick on the road, quite capable of 40, 50 miles an hour, but were taxed off the road by successive government because of their unrated rate. Jonathan's taken his boiler seat off, and this is Jonathan Bedecki here with the steam buggy. Figment of the imagination, we've got a little marine engine in there and the vertical boiler. Another town, the Devonshire, again moved to Argo Houghton of Warrington, again an agricultural engine, so we've been used to flashing and such like. And this is a single, so we've only got one cylinder up there rather than two. There's lots of the Sentinel, this is the Foden. Foden are very quick to produce the steam wagon, and this is the B-type estate tractor. So basically this is a timber tractor. There's a winch underneath it so it'll be used for slipping out if they call it up north, or pushing if you're further down in the country. The timber out, pull it up onto the tow trailer and haul it up to the lumber yard, to the sawmill. Another prowler, beautifully turned out. This again is the roll, and on the back of this one we've got the scarifier. So the scarifier is basically an implement for ripping the road up. This time it's a 10-tonner, called Smash, and then a single cylinder. It's beautifully turned out, and quite hard work still, especially on a day like today, I would think.
Yeah. I remember when I looked at all the youth,
I was cold bunkers I thought earlier, but thoroughly enjoying it. It's obviously growing up, I can remember seeing a couple of years ago in more or less in a carrying cot in the back of there. Where they go Sunday. The red colour in that. Still having fun. Still not looking remarkably clean. She's still looking remarkably clean, Sam. Are you okay on that? Don't shy now. Moving following that, this is another agricultural general purpose engine by the Foster concern, William Foster, down in Lincoln. Now this engine is probably pre-1914. But William Foster were the parent company for producing the first British tank. And if you look at the list of the first over 11 tank, this one hasn't done it, so I'm thinking this is pre-1913. 1910, so there we are. I was told that some owners actually changed it to load of haylers with the load. Carry around in Master's living wagon, and at night put the belt onto the dynamo and power the ride or power the lights with it. Yeah, I think so, round of applause, hours and hours and hours of work. So it's keeping these trees and bringing them here, and by this time it has sort of caught the public's imagination. So it's probably 25 or 30 quid scrap value. And the movement just caught off. All of a sudden there's other people who've got engines but never cheated because they've used them and so on and so. Would anybody like to blow a whistle? What do you reckon of that, ladies and gentlemen? Was it good? Was it good or could they do it better?
Yeah.
Better. Let's try it again. I think they're always having bothered, to be honest. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, Steve, if you'd like to start to make your way out of the arena.